Okay, so here I am in Illustrator. I've created outlines from a font, and now I'm customizing that font by reshaping the vector shapes into what I want. And this is from DaFont. There's nothing wrong with using what they give you wholesale. But you just always want to know how to make your own creative choices. But if they're on DaFont, they are free and they are public domain to use for any project. It's a very nice website and service. And there's a few others that are like that. Font.com has a lot that are for free use. Individual type designers will offer types of their text for free use. And sometimes you just want a font so badly to use in a project that you don't mind paying a little bit for it. And that's how the typographers make their money. Okay, so I've opened up that space. I kind of like that it looks like scales. So let's see how that G is looking now. And I like to save it as a text before I customize it so I can always compare. So that's it as a text, still editable as text, and then this is my version just of the G, right? The other thing I don't like is when you use text, you're going to have things that match. So I have an L right next to another L, and they look identical. So let me customize one of those L's a little bit. So it's not so clear I just stole a font or used a pre-existing font. It doesn't take much to make it your own. All right, let's see what else we can do. Now, there's nothing to say that you can't make your own font as well, and you treat it just like a spot illustration, basically, and the line work we did for our spot illustration. And I'll actually show you a project I'm working on now for the campus that requires a font design. Yeah, I'm just going to block in a new black shape on top here. I can play with to kind of change this up. Add another one here. Fill it in black. Okay, now I'm in business. Now my L's look very different. And I'm liking how that looks. I always will get it to where I like it just in solid black before I start playing with colors. So let me save that. And the way I'm going to work with that now is to export it as an EPS. But first I'm going to turn off my spot illustration. And I just want my custom text to be turned on. And that's what I save as an EPS file. And this will be my black and white text design. So I'm going to put my name. And this is often the first thing I ask for you to turn in for this assignment. It's just your black and white text design before we add color. So we have a lot of options for coloring, and I actually like to do it mostly in Illustrator instead of in Photoshop instead of in Illustrator. We'll have similar functionality in both. Okay, but let me show you what I mean when we do a custom text. Let's see. So I'll design Earth Day posters in Illustrator for the campus. And the one I'm working on right now is for 2016. Just got to figure out where I kept it. Huh. Maybe I don't have it here. Okay, I'll show you with the 2015 Earth design. So first I do a sketch, and then I vectorize that sketch, and that sketch has my own font treatments in it. So 2015 Earth Day in LC. So what does that look like in a finished poster? Well, I'm working on that poster in Illustrator. Looks like this. And I'm kind of blocking in the colors as I go. So it's not hard to take your own drawing and turn it into a font design. Right. But the difficulty of that is it's on you to space it correctly, just by how you draw it, and to spell everything correctly. And the reason I left the date out is because they haven't set the exact date yet for when in April we'll have this event. And when I put that in, I'll probably use a font, and then I'll just outline the font and use text tools for that instead of trying to draw it in. And you are welcome to customize your own font for this project. Okay, so the next step, how do we get our poster to work the way we want? Well, we need to colorize the text to work with our idea. So I need to take first my spot illustration and open it up in Photoshop. And it's okay if it's just the PNG. So we're going to open this with Photoshop. Just to make it a little bit easier to find later, I'm going to make a duplicate of it, put it on the desktop, and keep that in my assignment 11 font design folder as well. Okay, and now I saved the EPS to the desktop. Here it is. So I'll put it into my folder for the Godzilla. But before I can bring in the EPS as a smart layer, I want to change the canvas size of my spot illustration. So I'm going to make this 24 inches tall. Looks like it's about the right width, but I might as well go bigger. 18 inches wide. And that's kind of the poster dimension I'm going to work with, but I might have a border. And now I'm going to bring in that EPS that I liked. Just click and drag it in. It will put it dead center. And matching my sketch and my vision, I'm just going to move it up. I'm using the arrow keys, which are a little slower, but that keeps it perfectly centered for me. And just like you could with the large selection tool in Illustrator, I can hold down Option and I can extend its size a little bit if I want to on both sides, so it's still centered. I can do that vertically as well. I can shrink it. So I'm just trying to match the curve, fitting the space. And when I hit return, it's placed, but it is a smart object. So it's perfectly a clean vector, just like the line work on our spot illustration was. Okay. Okay, now the problem is this doesn't look too finished yet, right? A poster is more than just a spot illustration in black text. And before I colorize it, I want to make some other decisions. I want to figure out, well, what's the background going to be? So I'm going to make a new layer that I run behind everything. First, I'm going to fill it with white. And then I want to figure out what kind of border I want on my image. And I have my rulers turned on here so I can see. I'm going to go in 1/4 of an inch, maybe a full inch on each side. Kind of there at the top, and then 23 at the bottom. So I have a 1-inch border now, and I'm going to fill this in. This is a new layer with middle gray. Okay, so that kind of shows me the composition of my poster that I'm working with. But that looks pretty dull. So what I like to do is play with texture fills. And I have this one. This is actually a vector texture fill of particulate matter. See all that good stuff? Bring that in as a smart object. I can rotate it. I can grow it. It's also an EPS, right? And place it in. I kind of like how that works. I can even, especially like how that works with the text. And even though it's a smart object, I can apply different fills, different blending styles. I like how that works. You see how now my white border is coming through? And if I just take the opacity down a little bit, I can have the gray coming through as well. So I'm getting there now. I kind of have an understanding of what I want. If I want a certain color texture background, I make a duplicate of my gray, and maybe I fill it instead with, select that gray shape, and maybe instead fill it with a gradation. So I have this gradation here from the last thing I did. I'll fill that in. Looks like that. I can bring that underneath.